So, folks, we return for yet another rendition of Dave Rubin makes potentially one of the worst mistakes of his career by going on Jubilee. Now, I want to preface this by saying I do not condone Jubilee. They are, I think, ultimately harmful to our political discourse. However, Dave Rubin getting owned by a room full of strangers is very funny. So I'm making my exception. I'm making an exception to my no Jubilee rule, and we're jumping into this. Okay, we are going to be starting with his second claim here.
My next surrounded claim is if you still vote for Democrats in 2026, you're voting for broken cities, broken schools, and broken borders.
If you would like to debate this claim, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, how are you, Santana?
So, can you explain a little bit about what you mean broken cities, broken schools, broken borders?
Sure. Well, broken cities, you can boil it down to crime and drug use. And I can tell you, having been here in Los Angeles for the last 36 hours, I have seen more homeless people, more drug use, more urban decay than I have seen in the last 5 years combined living in Florida.
Florida?
Yeah. In terms of school,
I've seen more homeless and moral degeneracy here in LA than I've seen than any time in my life. What state do you live in? I live in Florida. I guarantee you there's more of this shit going on in Florida.
Schools, it's basically brainwashing kids and teaching them what to think instead of teaching them how to think. And then what was the third one in terms of, borders is the easiest one. I mean, under the Biden administration, we let in somewhere, we don't even know what the actual number is, but somewhere between 16 to 20 million illegals. If Donald Trump did quite literally nothing else in his presidency.
Fact check. During Biden's presidency, Border Patrol logged roughly 7 to 8 million encounters at the southern border, with an estimated 1.1 to 1.5 million gotaways. Gotaways? I've heard of getaways. I've never heard of gotaways. Okay. Pew's 2021 to 2024 estimates show the total undocumented population rising from about 10.5 million to around 14 million, an increase of only a few million, far below the claims of 16 to 20 million new undocumented immigrants. It's almost like Donald Trump is a lying sack of shit.
Presidency, just getting control of the border, I would say would be good enough, because you don't have a country if you don't know who is in it.
Okay, all three of your claims are wrong. Pick which one you want to be proved wrong on.
I humbly request that you read the next fact check as a 1930s newscaster. Done.
Let's do borders.
Perfect.
Okay.
Donald Trump is absolutely the worst president on the border. First and foremost, you can talk about the Langford bill, which was a piece of legislation which would have strengthened our borders, but Donald Trump had that legislation shot down. He
wait. So were the borders open under Obama?
No.
Or under Biden? Let's try that. The borders were not open.
What piece of legislation did he pass to open the borders?
No, it's not about a piece of legislation. It's about literally.
How do you open the borders without legislation?
You just let people through, which is exactly.
Oh no. Oh man, Dave, you said like two sentences together. You've already destroyed your own argument. How do you let people in without legislation? You just let them in. That's not how that works, Dave.
There was no one standing at the borders. Everybody just come right in.
In many cases, yes, actually. In many cases, they were quite literally moving barbed wire fence.
Where did you get this information?
There are videos of it. Have you ever seen the video of Bobby?
Did you fact check the videos?
Have you ever seen the video of Bobby Kennedy when he was running as a Democrat, standing at the border? He was still a Democrat.
Wait, you're talking about the same one that sniffed coke off a toilet seat and admitted it recently?
No.
The same one that actually took a dead bear and dropped it in Central Park. The same one that actually chopped the head off a whale. You're citing RFK Jr.?
Yes, I am citing RFK Jr.
No, I don't hear that.
Who's running HHS right now?
Which he...
Yeah, he... none of those, by the way, none of those claims are fake. It is a well-documented fact that RFK Jr. dropped a dead baby bear in Central Park in order to try and frame cyclists so that he could get, anti-cycling fervor going in New York City, right? It is also attested to by one of his children in a memoir that when they were young, his children were young, he packed them all into a minivan, drove them to a beach where there was a washed up dead whale, and then hacked off its head, strapped it to the top of his car, and it had to be tied on through the windows, so the windows were down. And his kid writes about like how they had to have ponchos on because the viscera and fluid from the dead whale carcass was dripping in through the windows on them. And he did this just because he wanted to like examine the whale head like on his own in private. It's really, really weird and gross, right? And he did on a podcast recently talk about doing cocaine off a public toilet seat. Like, no, all of those are legit.
Shouldn't be, but that's fine. Yeah. Listen, when you talk about...
how many people do you think came in under Biden? Let's see if we're even operating on the same plane.
The acceptable...
Like, Dave immediately drops this RFK talking point.
Number is about 10 million.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So I'll grant you that. They say it could be anywhere, I've heard 16 to 20 million, but let's say it's 10. Do you think that's good or fair or just or how a country can operate?
I think that when you create instability throughout the world and then you also tell people that your country's open, then you create an actual quote-unquote border crisis. Think about this really quick.
What instability was Joe Biden causing?
What was Barack Obama's nickname?
Barry?
Deporter-in-chief. Barack Obama had a negative immigration rate. That means that he deported more people than he let into the country.
So you're for deportation.
So we can say that there wasn't a border crisis under Obama, right?
The border crisis was significantly worse under Biden.
But under Obama, was there a crisis?
Barack Obama did.
Yes or no?
Barack Obama,
yes or no?
Barack Obama did deport, I think, more people than Donald Trump.
Like, I hate this argument because, like, I think we have a terrible and inhumane border system in this country that needs to be changed and offer pathways to citizenship for people who are here. Like, the solution to undocumented people is not deportation. It is documenting them. It is rectifying the administrative error that has them undocumented. That's it. We have administrative errors all the time. People should just be like, you find out someone's undocumented, you get them documents. That's it. Right? End of story. But instead, we've set up this horrible, inhumane, and cruel system that rips them out of their homes, away from their families, and deports them. Like, that's crazy. And it's especially crazy because I want to remind you all of something. The kind of administrative error of being undocumented is like a civil violation. It's on par with that. It is on par with a parking ticket. And I don't see anybody going around saying you should be stripped of your citizenship for getting a parking ticket. I don't see anybody like getting told, oh, you should lose like your children, your wife, your brothers, your sisters. You should lose everything. Be ripped away from your home and family. Be incarcerated for an indefinite amount of time in concentration camps around the country because you got a parking ticket. Seems like a bad system when the solution to me really just seems to be document them. Then the problem's solved. Like, the problem here is that we have conservatives and corporate bought politicians in power right now who have empowered a system that relies upon incarcerated labor to basically pay workers next to nothing, slave wages, in order to produce goods cheaply. That is what, by the way, Geo Group has been advocating for decades. The private prison industry thrives off of huge amounts of relatively peaceful people being incarcerated for as long as possible. That is what is going on right now. The ICE concentration camps that they've built, most of them are privately run by companies like Geo Group. They have forced labor programs in those concentration camps. They are profiting off of the labor of these people who are being held indefinitely without any legal rights or recourse. And who does this benefit? It benefits corporations and billionaires. It is yet another way that these bought and paid for politicians in the Republican Party serve their billionaire donors.
Trump,
So,
yeah.
but then
I wish Donald Trump was deporting more people.
Sure,
Yeah.
I agree. So you're saying there was a crisis under Biden?
Yes,
Okay,
of course.
but no crisis under Obama?
No, I didn't say that. He was deporting.
I mean, yes or no? Yes
he
or
was
no?
Wait, hold on. Let's do Biden.
He had a negative.
And they get 3 solid meals a day? No, they don't. No, they don't. Every single inspector who has gone through these facilities reports maggots and mold in the food, reports that the people are being given like milk that is curdled solid. The reports indicate that they are not getting enough food. They are not, in fact, being given enough water. They are not being given mandated amounts of times for outside exercise. They are not being kept in humane conditions. No one who has toured these facilities has reported that inmates are being given enough food. Not a single one. By the way, you'll notice even the administration does not claim to be giving them enough food. The administration, when they get asked about this, say that they are meeting the calories required. They don't care if those calories are edible or not. They don't care if the food that has calories on the packaging, if it's moldy and will make someone sick if they eat it. They don't care if there are maggots in the meat. They don't care.
Deportation rate.
Let's do Biden and
Also, you can have all the, even if it were true that they were getting the solid meals and the commissary and the time outside and the exercise and the books and television, even if all of that were true, they don't have access to legal representation. Their own lawyers are being denied visitation. Their own legal representatives aren't being allowed to contact them. And you could make all the arguments you want. Maybe it's as posh as you could like in there. But at the end of the day, they're not being allowed out. They're not being allowed to see their families. They're being indefinitely detained and forced to perform labor. And I have a sneaking suspicion it's not the Four Seasons in there. You know, based on literally all available evidence.
Trump.
No,
Biden and
I
Trump.
just
Let's
need
do the
you to answer
last
a question.
two
Hold on,
administrations.
just answer the question, yes or no?
I am for anyone that will close
That's fine.
borders and
say,
deport
I'll say
people.
no. I'll say no. That's
okay,
fine.
Okay.
So if there wasn't a crisis under Obama and there was a crisis under Biden, what happened in between those two administrations? Was there something that happened?
Wait, are you blaming Donald Trump for Joe Biden's border?
No, what I'm blaming Donald Trump for is when he's actually campaigning for president and he's going around and to any news organization that will let him speak and telling everyone that the border's open. They're wide open. Come on in, come on in. And he actually created.
I actually really hate this argument. Playing into the idea that there was a border crisis to begin with, I think is just a mistake. Like, I understand that this person is doing an argument to try and get an easy W on Dave Rubin, but I actually think playing into this perception of a border crisis is actually like a profound failure just from a political perspective.
Something that wasn't there. So wait,
you're blaming people coming to this country illegally. You're blaming Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who really only appeared because of borders, right? Build a wall.
There wasn't a border issue.
That's what he appeared.
There wasn't a border issue when he said that, right? But then when there was instability,
We've always had a completely porous border.
We had a negative
obvious.
deportation rate under Obama. He created the actual desire for people to come here because he told the lie that the borders was open.
Wait a minute, but why?
So
but if America's
like, honestly, this is a bad argument because people were trying to come to America prior to Donald Trump, right? He is trying to play into Dave Rubin's own rhetoric here to trap Dave and make Dave look bad, but I just think both of them are making bad arguments right now.
a racist, evil, capitalist country. Why would these people want to come here?
Because it's still better than the country that they're in. Because the United States of America
is pretty good.
Destabilizing other countries. Our CIA keeps destabilizing other countries.
Now that's true. That is a good point.
Or in other countries.
So who did
We're
Barack?
doing that right now.
Wait. So who did Barack Obama destabilize that then Donald Trump allowed into the country?
The point being is our country has a history of destabilization. That doesn't matter if it's left or right.
So who did Barack? Well, I'm just playing your game here. So I'm just playing your game, man.
Created the need for people to come here, and there was no crisis, then Donald Trump not only created it, but he didn't handle it.
Like, honestly, this is a bad argument from this guy, but Dave is such a bad communicator and so bad at, like, making an argument that he allowed himself to be trapped by this relatively simple maneuver. God.
I'm sorry, man. Nothing you're saying is making sense here.
What was Donald Trump?
Okay, we got pause there. You've been voted out.
What country did Barack Obama destabilize that caused people to come here under Donald Trump?
I guess you'll never know.
Okay, you've been voted out.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah. What's your name?
My name is Maybe. Nice to meet you, Dave.
Good to meet you.
So I myself am a Democrat. I'm actually running for state senate here in California.
Hell yeah. Hope maybe wins.
Okay.
I would argue that I am about as far left as you can get as a Democrat.
Okay.
And I'm critical of the Democratic Party because I actually don't think they're left enough. If we're going to talk about broken cities.
I like Maybe so far. Don't let me down, Maybe. Don't let me down.
Here we are in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not a broken city. I live here. I feel safe walking down the street as an openly trans non-binary person, as somebody who does drag. This is not a broken city. It is unaffordable in many ways, but that is the case across the rest of the United States. And if we're going to talk about broken cities, we actually need to talk about broken states. 8 out of the 10 poorest states in the United States are Republican controlled. And the majority of states that are the wealthiest states are democratically controlled. And these are actually donor states to Republican states. And the irony is that Republicans are against welfare, except when it comes to funding their states.
Okay. Well, first off, I would say I'm very glad that as a trans person you feel safe here. You should feel safe, and I treat anyone that treats me with respect. You're going to get respect out of me, so I appreciate that. And I'm glad
remained
I assume you've been to West Hollywood, right?
I have.
I used to live in West Hollywood, pretty close to the Abbey.
Fact check. Most of the poorest states are Republican-led, while many of the wealthiest are Democratic-leaning. Census and state legislative data show that 9 out of the 10 poorest states vote Republican, and 18 of the 19 poorest have Republican-controlled legislatures. Fiscal analyses also find that higher-income blue states often pay more in federal taxes than they receive, while poorer red states often receive more than they contribute. Fact check.
And I left about I moved to the Valley before that, but I lived there for about 6 years. And the 6 years that I lived there, from about 2013 to 2019, it was pretty clean and it was pretty safe. And there weren't drug addicts and homeless people all over the place.
Thank you.
I spent the last 2 days there in West Hollywood. That's the hotel I'm staying at is there. There are drug addicts and homeless people everywhere. Everywhere. You would acknowledge that is the case, yes?
I would acknowledge that, but I would also acknowledge that there are plenty of housed people who are also drug addicts, and they never seem to be the problem. It's only when they're existing in poverty, abject poverty outside, that you have to witness it, that it becomes a problem. The issue is not that these people are dangerous. The mythology around people experiencing homelessness is that they are dangerous. The reality is that unhoused people are more likely to be victims of violent crime than perpetrators.
Well, all right, so
She right though. What a queen. What a queen. Right? Because I always like the argument that, like, the argument against, like, homeless people and drug use isn't actually the real argument. Right? The argument that conservatives are making is that it's icky and gross to see people who are living in desperation. That's the actual argument. And the problem is that the Republican argument isn't how do we systematically change to get these people the help and support that they need. Instead, the Republican argument is how can we incarcerate these people? How can we punish them? And that's, I think, something that is deeply, deeply evil. Because it isn't, by the way, actually effective to, like, put these people in prison. It doesn't make them clean. There are actually a lot of drugs in prison. But instead, when we're talking about this, the problem is that we as a society can choose to have a society that helps people who are homeless and gives them housing. In fact, we have done studies on this time after time, pilot studies across the United States, across the world, and it shows that it is cheaper to provide housing to the unhoused than it is to allow them to remain unhoused. It actually saves your community money to house the homeless. It is not just the right thing to do, it is the fiscally responsible thing to do.
Listen, I can actually get on board some of what you're saying here. Now, there's a couple issues here because one of them is not just about violence.
Fact check. Research and local data consistently shows that unhoused people are far more likely to be victims of violent crime than to commit it, with rates of assault, sexual violence, and even homicide many times higher than for the general population. But for the sake of this fact check, we didn't actually provide any facts of our own in the fact check, which seems like a real failure on our part. We'll try and do better next time.
If you are going to create the conditions, the economic conditions or whatever you want to call it, that's going to allow for these people to be out on the streets, would you want to walk a baby in a carriage down that block as these people are there? I don't think you would.
I would, because I don't know the last time I've heard of an unhoused person attacking a baby. And these are,
you know what, I would say if you, no, it's not fear mongering. If you were a young mother and you were pushing a carriage and there were a bunch of people who clearly were on, well, now they have super meth or whatever it is.
Super meth. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's super meth. The Republican argument is the money ends up with bureaucrats and cronies. Average veteran gets $33,000 who uses services. $122,000 is the average VA worker pay. Homeless are needed to generate tax dollars. The homeless aren't needed to generate tax dollars. They generate the tax dollars whether or not they are housed. They generate more tax dollars if they're housed. Yeah, like we have data that corroborates that. I've gone over it many times on stream. And also, veterans should be compensated more. We should be better for our veterans. We should do better for our veterans. But the fact that we do not currently do good enough for our veterans is not an argument that we should also do worse by our homeless people. In fact, many veterans are also homeless. If anything, we should strengthen both systems, and there is no excuse in this country for any veteran to go homeless. There is no excuse in the richest country to ever exist for people to be unhoused and for people to go hungry and for people to have no medical care. There is no excuse. The reason people are currently unhoused, the reason people are currently not getting healthcare, the reason people are currently starving is because that money, instead of going to working people, instead of going to the people who need it most, who are suffering under the most awful conditions imaginable, instead of that money getting there, it goes to fucking billionaires. It goes to fucking Elon Musk. SpaceX, for example, is undertaking this process of becoming a publicly traded corporation. It's about to have its IPO. They're trying to raise $75 billion. And all of SpaceX's money comes from taxpayers. Instead of providing for our veterans, instead of providing for our homeless neighbors, instead of providing for people in our communities, people we love, to get the healthcare that they need, instead, billionaires are profiting to the tune of billions of dollars as they all are fighting amongst each other to become the world's first trillionaire. We talk about how the poor are so entitled for wanting to eat. The poor, they're so entitled for wanting to have a roof over their heads. They're so entitled for wanting safety. They're so entitled for wanting healthcare. While meanwhile, the richest fuckers to ever exist are stealing hundreds of billions of dollars from us. They're stealing it from me. They're stealing it from you. They're stealing it from your kids, if your kids are old enough to pay taxes. They're stealing it from every goddamn one of us. The only people they're not stealing from are billionaires. SpaceX creates jobs. Those jobs could have been good paying union government jobs through NASA. Everything SpaceX has done, NASA did, and did for less money.
But it is real. It is a real thing. It is a real thing. That are on any of these drugs, you would not want to push a carriage down that block. But it's not exactly just about...
Dems didn't defund police. You can look at national rates of police department pay. They have gone up every fucking year. The idea that, like, Democrats defunded police in any respect that matters is just conservative fantasy. Police department budgets keep going up and up and up. Here, I'll show it. Despite defunding claims, police funding has increased in many US cities. Of 109 budgets analyzed, 91 agencies have upped police funding by at least 2%. Yeah, here's the budget for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's budget. You can see it went up basically every year from 2012 to 2023. You can point to 2 different years where it went down. One was 2018 and one was 2021. And it went down in 2021 by $0.01 billion, which is like less than 1%. It's crazy. But sure. Yeah, no, it's all been defunded for sure. This is from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. State and local public order and safety spending on police. And this is in the billions of dollars, starting in 1959 at $1.873 billion. And the state and local spending on police, as you can see, since 1959 all the way to 2024, has gone up every single year as a national priority. It has gone from 1959 at $1.873 billion to $178.858 billion. It has literally gone up by about 100 times what it was in 1959. The Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis is one of the most reputable financial institutions in the United States, by the way. I don't know. Just look at that photograph, indeed. Thank you for bearing with me while I found that graph, by the way.
You just took it out of. I told you I would actually feel comfortable with that.
Okay, so you would.
Most these people.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most parents would not be comfortable with that. But it's not just about that. I would also say if you spend any time in, well, Hollywood's become a total disaster too. But if you go down Melrose, you go down to these places that were once thriving. The store everywhere. The stores are closed.
Okay,
there are not shoppers, but it's because of the economic conditions.
Exactly, it's a part of the economic conditions.
No,
so what we need is economic equity.
No. But who's been running? But Democrats have been running this city forever. Democrats have been running the state of California forever.
Republicans who are running to represent the city, including Spencer Pratt, is not coming in to build housing for all the issues that there is not enough housing in Los Angeles.
But it's not a housing.
The number of people experiencing homelessness.
No.
Yes, it is, because on any given night.
Issue. It's not a housing issue. You could give drug.
It's not a. Oh my God! Is Dave about to make the same argument we were talking about earlier, where like some dipshit conservatives are like, yeah, most homeless people like being homeless. They love it. People love to suffer in the elements.
It's all the beds and homes that there are, and it will not work. It will not work. If you told me that what you were trying to do was figure out truly functional programs that would help these people get off drugs, and they could actually work,
like universal health care,
I could get on some of that. No, but just saying universal health care, and we're going to give health care to everybody.
Well, Dave, you haven't given me a moment to speak in.
It's easy to say, yeah. It's also easy to pass a law, like. It's honestly not even that difficult to figure out how one would construct a law to have universal health care. All you have to do, the reason it's called Medicare for All, is just to lower the age of Medicare, like, eligibility every year. You just roll Medicare down. Maybe you roll it down 5 years every year until everyone is covered by Medicare. That's all you got to do. Medicare works great for seniors, and they are the highest risk pool in the entire country. What we're talking about when it comes to Medicare is actually making Medicare stronger and better for everybody on it. Like, oh, well, but how would we do it? The same way we provide healthcare right now for senior citizens. It's not a difficult thing to imagine. That's why they call it Medicare for all.
So what I want to say is that on any given night in Los Angeles, in LA County, there are more than 72,000 people experiencing homelessness. In LA City, there are more than 43,000
Democrat-run Los
people.
Angeles.
Let me finish.
Democrat-run
There are more than
Los
43,000
Angeles.
people experiencing homelessness. Yet there are only about 16,000 interim housing shelter beds. Meanwhile, there are more than 250,000 vacant units. Here's the thing. Democrats, what I'm saying...
Is your argument...
Yeah, Democrats also aren't passing Medicare for all. That's a problem, which is why people need to get involved with the local Democrats and advocate for Medicare for all on the local level and make sure any politician who is coming up also supports Medicare for all.
The Democrats have not funded is your
Also pass Montana initiatives in every goddamn state. Bar corporate PAC spending in every fucking state. It should be illegal. The people doing it should go to prison.
Argument that Democrats have not funded homeless policies enough because they've
my argument is that Republicans are not going to fund it either. They're just going to criminalize our neighbors experiencing poverty, and we cannot criminalize our neighbors experiencing homelessness because they are poor.
But you seem more angry at Republicans who've had nothing to do with this.
You seem more angry with Republicans who have nothing to do with this, except, you know, everything. I wonder why there are so many people with mental illnesses on the streets in California. I wonder why. I wonder if we looked back in the past, might there be a prominent Republican governor that completely obliterated the social safety net that was specifically designed to help people like that? Oh yeah, his name was Ronald Reagan.
Have literally no influence in this city or in this state. So even if I could grant you some...
But they have said what they want to do, which is come in and criminalize people who are living poor in public. And that is not going to solve the problem. That is going to shut...
Is he under the impression that California has no Republicans? It would be very funny if he was under that impression, considering he's supporting Spencer Pratt.
Down the street is going to create more incarceration.
You're angry at people.
In the state of California.
You seem angry at people that aren't in power and haven't been in power here in decades than the people who are actually in power. If you're angry,
I can be angry at both.
But if you're angry at somebody,
that's true. Like, you could pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time, Dave. I can be angry at corporate Dems who sold us out to the highest bidder, and I can be angry at corporate Republicans who also sold us out to the highest bidder.
Be angry at Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, when he was mayor of San Francisco, had his, 10-year plan to end homelessness in San Francisco. I am sure I don't have to tell you about the drug and homelessness problem.
You don't, but what we don't actually have is permanent supportive housing. We do not have enough permanent supportive housing with wraparound services.
So
you can't just criminalize people and throw people in jail.
No. So we have a fundamental difference on what you can do for these people. I don't think that if you take a bunch of drug addicts and just give them beds, that's going to solve anything. I think.
That's really interesting. Does giving someone a house help them with their drug use? Housing First, this is from 2013, okay, published in the American Journal of Public Health. Housing First improves residential stability in homeless adults with concurrent substance dependence and mental disorders. Results, we recruited 497 participants and 58% met the criteria for substance dependence. We found no significant association between substance dependence and residential stability after adjusting for housing intervention, employment, sociodemographics, and chronic health conditions, mental disorder severity, psychiatric symptoms, and lifetime duration of homelessness. Conclusions, people with mental disorders might achieve similar levels of housing stability from Housing First, regardless of whether they experience concurrent substance dependence. That is to say, if you are struggling with homelessness and given housing, you are far more likely to remain stable, even if you have a mental health disorder, right? What exactly does that mean when it comes to the substance abuse? There's actually a number of studies about this. Let's take a look at one. The relationship between housing status and substance use and sexual risk behaviors among people currently seeking and receiving services in substance use disorder treatment programs. Our purpose was to examine whether housing status was related to substance use and sexual risk behaviors for participants recruited from SUD treatment programs to determine whether substance use mediated pathways between housing status and sexual risk behaviors. We found a clear distinction in risk behaviors between individuals who reported being unstably housed and those who were homeless. Specifically, the results demonstrated a high prevalence of substance use and sexual risk behaviors among unstably housed individuals, but not among homeless persons or people in controlled environments. The finding that unstable housing was closely associated with substance use and increased sexual risk behavior aligns with previous research. Dickinson Gomez et al. Posit that individuals who are unstably housed have higher rates of sexual risk than those who are homeless because they live with acquaintances or sex partners and may thus be expected to contribute to household expenses or to share drugs, which may result in exchanging sex in order to retain a place to sleep. In addition, the prevalence of problematic drug use and cocaine use and sexual risk behaviors, including having multiple condomless sex partners, condomless sex with non-primary partners, and HIV unknown serostatus partners, was significantly higher among unstably housed individuals than instably housed in our sample. Substance users, particularly those living in unstable housing and homeless conditions, remain vulnerable to outbreaks of HIV infection. More residential instability is associated with more substance use and sexual risk behaviors, and may also independently contribute to HIV risk. Previous research has shown that 50% to 75% of unstably housed or homeless individuals engage in illicit drug use behaviors. We found that some drugs were significant mediators between being unstably housed and sexual risk behaviors. Unstably housed participants were at increased risk of engaging in sexual risk behaviors related to substance use, particularly when using cocaine, opioids, or marijuana. Similar findings also reported the daily cocaine injection was significantly associated with unstable housing. In another qualitative study, all opioid injectors described unstable housing and unreliable income sources. Substance users with decreased housing stability, such as those facing imminent eviction, often reported increased stress and substance use, which may lead to increased sexual risk behaviors. A more recent study showed that people with any positive reason for moving used drugs more frequently in the past 30 days, while those with a greater number of moves in the last 6 months were likely to have had condomless sex with an increased number of partners. They also reported that living with drug users, contributing money to household expenses, or having conflict over household expenses were associated with more hard drug use and more condomless sex partners. So, basically, the more unstable the housing situation is, the more likely it becomes that people are going to turn to drugs or to risky sexual encounters. And this is shown time and time again in research. So if you are actually interested in getting people off of drugs, providing them stable housing is one of the number one ways you can help them stay off of drugs. If your concern is for the health of these individuals who are suffering from homelessness and doing drugs, then you should be concerned with getting them housed, because it's cheaper than leaving them unhoused, and it helps them to get off of drugs. It helps them to make healthier decisions for themselves.
It's going to prolong it for the most part, okay? So we have a fundamental difference there. That's just fine. But what I would say is aim
I'm
your
sure
anger.
that you would probably do drugs if you lived on the street as well.
Aim your anger at the people who have been in charge. Your anger should not be at Spencer
My anger is at the duopoly, which is both Democrats and Republicans.
But it's not a duopoly here. It's not a duopoly here. Here in Los Angeles, which has...
And yet, Spencer Pratt would also do diddly shit for the homeless population of LA.
We got
Which
a
has
pause
Karen
there.
Be-
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Dave's argument here really just seems to be, well, you should vote for the Republican because he'll at least be more honest about telling homeless people to go fuck themselves.
He's quick. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Why does this look like AI? I don't know. Because I'm goofy looking?
So I really want to ground this conversation more in what I believe is the greatest damage that's happening right now in America, which is the affordability problem.
Okay.
And I think that there's no one who has exacerbated that more than Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans. We can talk about cities specifically, but I'd like to just talk about the nation.
Oh, the video? Jubilee just looks like that. Jubilee just looks like AI folks.
As a whole.
Sure.
If you look, I was previously an economics teacher for 12th grade, and if you looked at the three primary indicators of how the economy is doing, GDP, the labor market, and inflation, all three of those are indicating that the economy is going in a downhill direction, and that's all
I kind of love this guy. I kind of love this sassy gay like economics teacher. Like I kind of like him. I'm not gonna lie.
Also validated by a recent poll, 73% of people in
I'm also not happy with liberal politics. Welcome to the club.
America are saying that the economy is in poor condition. Now, if you look at the primary things that the Trump administration has done, taking away people's health care in one big beautiful bill, the war in Iran, which has raised gas prices, that's really the thing that is making everyone really feel like, oh, affordability, I need to choose between gas and groceries. This is the big problem that we're experiencing. So I don't think that going more in a Republican direction is necessarily going to be helpful for that, because we're seeing that.
I do appreciate the rising tide of folks who are finally willing. Like, it took forever. It took forever and just a deluge of obvious hints, but like finally people are pointing out that the entire argument that Republicans were the fiscally responsible ones is utter and complete horseshit. Every time we've had a Republican president for like the entirety that I've been alive, the last half a century, Republican presidents have blown a fucking hole in our budget every single time. Every single time. And I keep hearing Republicans talking about the deficit, the deficit, the deficit, the deficit, the deficit. And the Republican presidents are the ones running up the fucking deficit. And every single time the Republicans run up the deficit to give massive, massive handouts to the richest people on the planet, the billionaire class, the Epstein class, every single time they do that, there's never a question of how are we going to pay for it? And I think that that's really telling, right? It's never a question, how are we going to pay for this $1 trillion handout to the richest assholes to ever exist? No. How are you going to pay for the program, Medicare for All, that will save people money, that will be cheaper than doing what we do right now? That's the thing. The fiscally responsible moves that cost us less money are the moves that then get painted as the fiscally irresponsible ones. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? It's crazy.
Donald Trump ran on a platform of making the economy better. He appealed to people, the populace, of saying, listen, I understand the struggle. They pointed the finger at immigrants, at trans people, LGBTQ people, but then he made it worse. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that, the economy could actually go in a worse direction. So I just want to say.
Again, I think there's been a certain theme that I disagree with a little.
The president doesn't control the budget, Congress does. And yet, every time Trump has been in office, he's blown a fucking hole through the budget by commanding Republicans in Congress to vote for insane budget proposals. Weird how that works out.
Bit of the premise there, but I can basically get on board what you said there. Look, if you want to create the conditions for economic success, what I think you have to do is you have to lower taxes literally for everybody, and you have to eliminate as much regulation as possible, right?
Man, I fucking love that. You know, if you want economic success, you have to lower everybody's taxes. Now, I just want to like do a quick thought experiment. If you lower the taxes on working people, right? Working class Americans, that puts like, I don't know, $100, $200, $500 into working people's pockets. But lowering the taxes on the billionaires by the same percentage puts hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into their pockets. And like that seems like pretty obvious to me, especially when you look at the budgeting bills that get passed, which it is never just a flat tax reduction across all categories. The people at the top get the biggest tax reductions, percentage-wise. And so it's interesting to me, right? Because when Dave Rubin proposes this kind of solution, he knows that's how that works. He knows his rich friends are going to get the bigger tax cuts. I just point this out because the argument that, the rich need the biggest tax cuts because then it'll trickle down. All of their economic spending will trickle down to the people on the bottom. If that were true, we would have seen that happen already. And it doesn't happen. What happens is the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that is why we are currently experiencing a wealth gap, the likes of which hasn't been seen since the 1920s.
When we see a massive exodus right now,
worth noting, right before the fucking Great Depression.
We'll use New York as an example. Since Mamdani has taken over, they have lost trillions of dollars in tax revenue, right? So the guy wants to fund big government programs, and what he's saying is, I want to tax these.
Yet you wonder why the government steals 70% of all profit from the economy, yet you wonder why employers can't pay more and business leaves the country. Government creates nothing. One, that's absolutely not true. Government creates a lot of vital services that you and I rely on a daily basis. Your fucking roads, your fucking electrical upkeep, your personal safety in any building that you walk into, your ability to rely on clean medicine that isn't full of poison, your ability to eat food that isn't made out of sawdust, your ability to have a fire department respond if your home lights on fire, your ability to rely on some form of public safety. Government creates all of these things and many, many, many more things as well. But also the idea that the government steals 70% of all profit is really interesting there, because profit is extra. Profit is after your fucking expenses, right? And one of the things you list here, yet you wonder why employers can't pay more. If they are making a profit, my friend, they can pay more. They are choosing not to, so that they can give the profit to their CEOs, to their boards of directors, to their shareholders, and not to their workers. Also, even if the government is taking 70% of all profit, which it's not, that still means companies are making 30% profits, and they're currently making record profits in America at their workers' expense. And businesses aren't leaving America. Factories, manufacturing is, because the workers at the factory don't own the factory. They don't get to dictate how that factory is used. Instead, the billionaire owners, they look at that factory and they say, we could just build another factory on the other side of the planet and criminally underpay those workers. We could pay them slave wages and no one would complain in another country. And so they do that because it's cheaper, so that they can maximize their fucking profit.
People more, and then he is causing them to leave. That is what people are going to do in a free society, right? We have states' rights, and in Florida, say, we have no state income tax, we have low regulation. We create the conditions for economic boom, and that's what we're getting right now. It's not a coincidence that massive corporations, and if you look at nothing else, between blue and red right now, do you know how many people since COVID have moved to Florida?
I want to touch on what you...
Hey, just talking about the lack of regulations over in Florida, just real quick. Anyone remember a while ago, back in 2021? Let's just take a quick look here.
Following breaking news out of Florida, a new report is now out revealing what may have caused the deadly condo building collapse in Surfside, Florida, back in 2021. The report from the National Institute of Standards and Technology found that the failures that led to the collapse likely started in the building's pool deck rather than in the tower itself. The collapse of that 12-story building happened in the middle of the night, you may remember, in June 2021, killing 98 people. NBC News correspondent Ryan Chandler joins us now with more on this. Ryan, can you walk us through what they discovered, what the biggest takeaways are in this new report, and have we heard from the families?
So, Kate, this report really lends itself to reinforcing what had been the leading hypothesis after this collapse, that problems in the pool deck had doomed this building to collapse for decades prior. Investigators say that from the very construction of that pool deck back in 1981, that it did not live up to applicable building codes, was not built to a sufficient level of safety. And those problems were made worse by 40 years of corrosion and degradation. They point to a few main factors. Corrosion in the steel that reinforced that pool deck, made worse, of course, by the seawater being so close to the ocean, shrinking of the concrete and improperly built construction joints in the pool deck slab. We've known from our reporting dating back 2 years now that investigators have said that pool deck fell well short of applicable building codes and from the beginning did not have the structural design to ensure safety over all these decades.
When Dave Rubin is sitting there boasting about how, we keep cutting regulations in Florida. It's great. It's led to an economic boom. Cutting out regulations leads to lack of safety. It leads to cutting necessary corners. It leads to cutting the things that make people safe, the things that keep up structural integrity. And like when you start talking about building codes and building regulations, the reason those regulations exist is so that your house doesn't just spontaneously combust due to faulty wiring. It exists so that your house doesn't just spontaneously collapse upon you. It exists so that your condo doesn't just collapse and kill you and everyone else who's inside. It exists, and the reason these regulations are there is because people have died. The saying goes, regulations are written in blood. And many of the regulations we have, sure, some of them might be outdated. It's worth taking a look at. But just thinking, well, all regulations are bad, explicitly spits on the sacrifice that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have made over the course of centuries in this country to try and make things safe. More commie talk! It's true. It's communist to not want buildings to collapse on you.
You're talking about Mum Donnie, because I don't know the answer to that, but I can say.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to get you. So 2.3 million people have moved to Florida since COVID, right? And it was largely because of COVID. Then there were economic opportunities. Now it's because there's a huge boom down there and there's lower taxes. And DeSantis is trying.
As for Americans don't profit, go ahead and do the average wage for workers. Fun fact, we just did a segment where I did exactly that, and it shows that profits are going up and workers are getting less and less share of that profit, which is then in turn leading to 50% of Americans not being able to meet necessary expenses. We already did all of this in earlier today. And yeah, the thing you're arguing that like, oh, well, workers they're doing so good in America. No, we're not. Most people in America can't afford the things they need to live. And that's because even as profits go up, workers aren't being paid enough. They are not being paid in line with the rate of corporate profit, which is, I would like to remind everybody, generated by the workers.
Trying to get rid of property taxes, et cetera, et cetera. You know how many people have left California since COVID?
Well, I would like to talk about
again,
the
I'm not
percent
trying to
of
get you.
billionaires who would leave
on.
California if there was a proposed billionaire tax, and the percent is less than 5%.
No, but the billionaires...
Buildings 100 years ago didn't fall down because we had fucking building regulations 100 years ago.
Actually, the billionaires that billionaires will leave.
But the billionaires are leaving. Peter Thiel left. Elon Musk left. We can look at Ken Griffin.
What does
just
that have
in
to do
just
with
in the last
it?
2 weeks? Well, if you want,
got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Yeah, if you want their money, they're going to take it. All right, I started.
Thanks.
Okay, wait. Just out of curiosity here. Peter Thiel has left. He's left America. He's gone to Argentina. Peter Thiel still owns 3 homes in America. One in Miami, one in Los Angeles, and one in Maui. Okay, together they are worth tens of millions of dollars. Oh, he's left. He left America. He moved away. He owns 3 fucking homes here. I'm pretty sure he'll be back. Oh no, Elon Musk, he's gonna leave America. We can't let Daddy Musk leave. No. How many homes does Elon Musk own in America? Let's see, in 2020, he sold 7 mansions across the United States for a combined worth of $100 million. He alleges to live in a tiny home worth around $50,000. That, I think is fair to say, is a lie. Yeah, here we go. In 2024, he bought multiple properties in Austin, Texas, worth $35 million and built his own compound and owns a city in Texas that he runs as a company town. So, I think it's fair to say, considering he owns a city in Texas, that perhaps he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, inflation works that way. What's the actual percent of increase? You can go back in stream and look at that entire section. I'm not rehashing it just for your own edification. Elon Musk also has a hidden portfolio of residential properties of around 7 within the United States. He has also, in a show of insane persecution, bought decoy properties across the United States. New report, Elon Musk's hidden network of 90-plus Texas companies buying land and influence. He created 90 shell corporations to buy homes. Yeah, 37 companies appear to serve largely personal functions. Let's see. Quiet land acquisition. Yeah. Buying 110 acres here. 1,000 acres there. He's just buying thousands of acres of land and has housing through the companies that aren't listed directly to him, but instead to the companies. Let's see. These include 2 luxury units at the Proper Hotel in Austin, owned by the AJG Growth Fund. And let's see here. What else? People close to Musk told The Times he bought decoy properties to obscure where he actually lived, including at least one home in the gated community of Spanish Oaks. Beginning in 2022, Musk used additional LLCs with generic names to purchase 3 houses, totaling about 31,000 square feet. Wow, it sounds like despite his attempt to look like a humble, tiny home owner, he actually owns dozens of homes in the United States. Because he still lives in the United States. All this talk about, we're fleeing to other countries, it's all bullshit, guys.
He didn't try very hard.
Not really. Hi, Kian. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good to meet you.
So what? Well, the point is, I wouldn't care if any individual person decides to leave the United States and go live in another state. That's or country. That's their right. But the reason this matters is because the argument is, if we tax billionaires, they'll leave. Man, if billionaires cared about taxes, they wouldn't have 57 secret properties and decoy bunkers and shit. They have to pay taxes on all that shit. They are already paying a bunch of taxes. They're not going to leave the country because they have to pay more taxes. Part of the upside of being a billionaire is you get to do whatever the fuck you want, regardless of what it costs, including live in America, even if they tax you.
I want to talk on broken schools.
The fuck is a decoy property? Elon Musk is really paranoid about being tracked, and so he has decoy properties so no one knows where he lives.
You mentioned that you think schools are teaching kids what to think, not how to think. I just finished my student teaching program today. I'm getting my teacher certificate right now.
Great.
Thank you. Everything we talk about in my program, every piece of what you guys would probably consider to be woke critical race theory has been so beneficial for me in my student teaching and connecting with our students.
Give me an example.
Yeah, taking students' backgrounds into account when I am planning my lessons, making it actually engaging for them is the step one if you want to teach them anything. Because if students
can you give me an actual example? I'm
okay,
following
for
you
sure.
here. Yeah.
I have noticed a lot of my students are specifically concerned about money and being able to make money in the future. So when we're reading Romeo and Juliet, we talk about the class dynamics at play in that play. Because that's something they're interested in. So when I talk about that, they can buy in and they can actually do that.
Okay.
This is something that the right would look at and say is CRT, you're just like looking at them because they're from like poorer economic backgrounds, so they're doing all this.
Well, you haven't mentioned anything related to race. I don't have an inherent problem with what you just described right there. I don't see how that's CRT.
We're not trying to teach people what to think. We're teaching them how to think, and the way to do.
Man, this guy is too much of a cinnamon roll to be on this show. Also, he's not actually addressing the the argument that Dave has made so far. I guess trying to address like the broken school component, but like Dave doesn't care about that. Dave genuinely doesn't give a shit. And honestly, Dave is going to use a clip like this to make the argument that, oh, they're teaching kids how to think. That's indoctrination.
Do that is by getting them engaged. And I think we see this in that all the top states are all blue states. All the top states for education are all blue states.
Florida's #1 in higher education, without question. I mean, you check the U.S.
Dave doesn't care about anything. That's not true. Dave cares an awful lot about money. It's like the entire reason he left the left.
Check U.S. News World Report. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Florida's top 3.
It's not.
We'd have
not
to
in
check.
the top
Check U.S. News World Report. We can fact check it. Yeah,
please do.
Yeah. What I would say, my basic
fact check: U.S. News 2024 to 2025 pre-K through 12 state rankings put blue states New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Connecticut in the top 3. So the highest rated K through 12 systems in the index are indeed in Democratic-leaning states, but it's not strictly true that every top-ranked K through 12 state is blue under all data sets. Florida is ranked #1 overall education in the U.S. News state rankings primarily because of its consistently stronger higher education performance, while it ranks around 22nd in the pre-K through 12 sub-ranking.
Situation when it comes to...
Wait, so I am curious, by what metric is Florida #1, if not in a pre-K through 12 ranking? Like, what other elements are raising it to a #1 state? Like, are we talking about like college education? Because generally speaking, when people are talking about education, like for states, they're talking about the pre-K through 12. Like, that's what they're talking about. Wouldn't teaching them what to think be indoctrination? Why would anyone have a problem teaching students how to think? Because conservatives, when they hear teachers are teaching children how to think, what they hear is, if you control the process of thought, you control the output. They're teaching them how to think themselves into becoming socialists. Like, that's generally what conservatives believe. They think that the way to counteract this is to teach children what to think. It's inverting the relationship. He literally said higher education. Yeah, but like sometimes people use that in like a colloquial sense to mean like high school. It's literally called high school. So some people are like higher education, the high school years.
Education is we should have school choice. We should have charter schools. We should have public.
Because again, when people are talking about, oh, we should have school choice, we should have charter schools and stuff like that, they're not talking about fucking college higher education. Charter schools are not college schools. Like, they are for the pre-K through 12 era. You know, like that's typically that's kind of the thing I'm talking about here. Dave is talking about the pre-K through 12 era, under which Florida is ranked number 22 in the United States. But then he's saying, well, Florida is ranked #1 among all things, including higher education. But then the policies he's talking about are related to pre-K through 12. It's messy, and I think a stupid, distracting argument for Dave to make, which is why I call it out.
Public schools, we should have private schools. You shouldn't necessarily be stuck in a failing school just because of your zip code.
I'm glad you want to have as much.
Just a reminder, can't use slurs in my chat. Sorry. You're welcome to disagree with me. You just can't be using slurs.
Choice as possible within the system, and then it also creates competition. I also look. We have a huge
I'm
homeschool.
Sorry, I got to cut you off.
We have
Private
a huge
and charter
homeschool
schools
boom.
are not more inclusive. Do you know what the average cost of?
Well, I didn't
say
anything about inclusive.
You said you don't want people to get stuck.
I don't want people.
Banana brains, of course. Happy to oblige.
I want there
think
to
schools
be
should be inclusive.
Well, it depends what you mean by inclusive. So
I think that everyone should have
inclusive?
similar opportunities, and the way to do that is
Sure.
not with school choice. School choice.
So you want
guts public
you want
funding.
state-run, no competition.
I think
school.
having
Do you-
public
how-
schools
yeah.
is the best way to
Well-
get the most amount of people. And if we make public education,
Vertical chatters, if you want the chat, hit the subscribe button. In about 5 minutes, you'll be able to post something. Sorry to all you fine folks. We gotta have the shields up for a bit.
good, and we actually
that's
put
a
resources
hell of a,
into
that's
it.
a hell of a
I
caveat.
know, but
Who's in
school
charge? Let me
choice
ask
is
you
what
that.
gets that.
But if,
Good night,
but if
banana
you,
brains.
wait, school choice?
Yes.
School-
Where do you think
wait,
the funding goes with school choice?
Wait, I think
it comes from public education
No.
to go to private and charter
Right.
schools.
So I would have as many charter schools as possible, as many private schools as possible. I would encourage homeschooling.
So you wanna
I would encourage pod
eliminate
learning.
public schooling?
I think actually you could. Over time, I think you could, but I'm not calling for that today. You want...
We could kill public schools. Over time, you could. But I'm not saying we should do that now. Okay.
Can I tell you what I really
state-run
want? Can I tell you what I
schools.
really want?
So might I recommend...
Schools have always been state-run.
But
Like-
has always been state-run, and how do you think that's working out? How do
I
you
think it
that's
was working out really great until we started gutting our funding. If we look at class sizes right now, can I
this
talk about
is-
class sizes?
Sure.
My teacher, my mentor teacher has class sizes
Yeah, Karen L, we'll talk about it in the mod chat, and I'll let you know.
of up to 40 students in her classes.
So I would
That
create
is not
more-
sustainable. If we put more funding in, we can hire more teachers for those public schools to get class sizes down, which is the number one thing.
So
'Cause
you
if we
think,
have
so
lower
you think
class
just
sizes,
if we
wait, let me
just,
finish,
you think
please.
if we just put more money into these things,
I
that
think
we
if
would
we
have
hire
better
more
results?
teachers,
Yeah, if you hire more teachers, aka put more money into these programs, you can lower class sizes, personalize education plans on a per student basis. You would also be able to hire more support staff to do things like provide IEPs for children who need additional supports in school. You'd be able to do a whole lot of different things with more funding. And like, if you decrease the amount of funding available, schools can do less things. It's not difficult to figure out how that works.
if we hire more teachers,
Yeah.
then we have lower class sizes. Teachers like myself can individualize our curriculum. We can take individual students into account.
Unemployed Chud writes, farting in blankies, watching some streams, eating some egg salad. Sounds like a beautiful evening.
In our lesson planning, which is something I do because I was lucky enough.
Like, this is genuinely like watching Dave Rubin do a Simpsons bit unironically. He's doing the money can buy goods and services thing. Like he's like I'm genuinely baffled.
$20. I wanted a peanut. $20 can buy many peanuts. Explain how. Money can be exchanged for goods and services. Woohoo!
Like, genuinely, he's like he's below Homer Simpson level cognition. It's crazy.
To have a small class size, but other classes don't have that, so it's not
me
possible.
that you would be quite a good teacher, likely in a pod.
I'd say he's doing the steamed hams bit. I mean, he's getting close, yeah.
Or at a charter school, or at something where it would be more one-on-one.
I'd be a good teacher anywhere, I promise.
Okay, we got
okay,
to pause there.
that's
we got
fine,
to
but I
pause
can
there.
see-
You've been
yeah.
voted out by the
Yeah.
majority.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
All right, good. What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since he got in office? So like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, et cetera.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year, and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we are.
Oh God, I think Dave. I haven't seen many clips, but people have been asking me about this guy, about this Parker talking to Dave Rubin. They've been asking me if this bit has happened yet. So I don't know what happens here, but I have a feeling Dave is about to have his ass handed to him in about 5 different ways.
We're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen.
Listen here, you snot-nosed little freak. I came here to debate you, not to provide you with fancy facts and figures. I didn't come here prepared with your fancy schmancy learning. You think I can just pull numbers out of my but I can't.
Listen,
I don't think you do.
Do you think, hold on. So you're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth was better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You say,
Can you tell me anything? Can you tell me anything that got better? Anything at all? No, he can't. No, he can't. Dave did not come prepared for this. Dave has no idea. Yeah, how dare this child speak to Dave this way with facts? How dare?
it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
It's worse off in terms of the growth in 2025 as compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500,
they're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well. You know, things don't.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
The Dow? That's a lot of thou. The Dow. Coder Joe, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. Very much appreciated. Working to restore Riverboat.gg's honor. Appreciate you.
Happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example, things don't. That's true. That's true. There's reality. There's actual reality. Like you put policies into place and they don't just kick in the next day, right?
Well,
Donald Trump,
been a year and a half.
Donald Trump said when the tariffs.
He said in a year,
hold on.
prices would be down 50% for electricity. Are they up right now?
Hold on. Donald Trump, when he brought in the whole idea of tariffs, would you agree that for the last 4 decades,
SpongeBob Tech Nerd 23, thank you for gifting us a community sub over on Twitch. Appreciate you.
we have had completely
Fact check. GDP growth, Trump 2025, 2.2%. Biden, 2.4%. Inflation, Trump in 2026, 3.8%. Biden, 3%. Unemployment, Trump, April 2026, 4.3%. Biden, 4.1%. 2025 was Trump's worst non-COVID year for job growth. True. The S&P 500 returned 16.39% in 2025, which was a decline from the 23% to 24% growth seen in 2024.
lopsided trade deals with all of these countries where they're tariffing and taxing our products that go to them, and they're getting sweet deals when they sell to the American public. Do you think that's a fair?
Didn't Trump address that with the USMCA, but he went against that when he didn't?
Yeah, we can't show the video at the moment because otherwise the DMCA will come for us all.
Extend it through the context of his new trade agreement because he wanted to place tariffs on all of them again. And his tariffs that he's placing on are destroying our relationships with countries all around the world.
No,
it's costing.
When you say destroying relationships,
it's costing consumers here in this country. A Federal Reserve.
I want a camera to show Dave Rubin's face so bad.
Report just came out indicated that we'd be below pre-pandemic levels of inflation if Donald Trump never imposed the tariffs in the first place.
Also, this man is so laser focused on destroying Dave Rubin right now. This is a look of pure, unadulterated focus. He is lasering in directly on Dave Rubin's heart.
Meaning we'd be able to bring down interest rates and be able to increase investment within our economy and bring more jobs back.
Hold on. When you say...
Oh yeah, that dude is a content creator. His name's Parker something or other.
Destroying our relationships with other countries, well, other countries...
Dave just looking like a deer in the headlights over here. Fact check. A 2026 Federal Reserve analysis finds the Trump era and renewed tariffs have raised core goods prices by about 3.1% and added roughly 0.8 percentage points to the core PCE inflation, meaning inflation today would likely be much closer to the Fed's 2% target without those tariffs.
We're getting sweet deals, right?
We're getting some sweet deals.
Which was charging crazy taxes.
And if there's anyone who knows anything about sweetheart deals, it's Donald Trump's legal team.
And tariffs on our products that were going to them, and we were basically charging nothing back. How can we sell to their market? So if they're upset with us, right? So China is a little upset with right now. Upset with us. We're trying to get fairer.
So is Europe. So is Africa. So are the Oceania countries.
Deals. Canada, obviously under Carney, is upset.
Latin America.
With us because we're trying to get
Canada.
Fairer deals. Donald Trump is trying to reset things. We were basically the world's piggy bank for the last...
Donald Trump is trying to reset things. You don't understand. That's why he keeps threatening to invade Canada. It's an effort to reset everything and make things, to really curry favor with the Canadians.
It's really basically post-World War II, and Donald Trump is trying to reverse that so that we will have fairer deals. If you told me that it was just zero across the board and there were no tariffs going any which way, I could completely get on board with that. But as long as countries are going to treat us unfairly, often while we foot the bill for their defense or a series of other things, and we give them foreign aid and everything else, well, then we should have equal...
Oh, Coder Joe, a lot of the people who were here were trolls, and as soon as we put up the shields for a members-only chat, or not members-only, subscribers-only, they left. They left because they did not want to hit the subscribe button and wait 5 minutes and have a level of investment for any of their chatters.
Playing field going both directions.
What better deal did he get?
What?
What better deal did he get?
What do you mean? Several countries have already come back, and we've
any of the conditions that made the trade better off. Give me the specifics.
Did we just skip? No.
Canada, I think they had something like a 60% tariff on cheese, literally on cheese, that was being sold from America, from Wisconsin.
Yeah, hey Dave, the reason Canada had a 60% tariff on cheese from Wisconsin was because the United States has huge amounts of subsidies on dairy products. Like, Dave, when we're talking about, like, why might they have tariffs on the cheese, Dave? It's because we subsidize cheese so much here in America that we can undercut basically any other market.
To Canada, and that basically is zero right now. That's one little example. I think it's zero right now.
Okay, so that's a targeted tariff, not a universal tariff. No. Can you name one country?
Canada did not have a flat 60% tariff on U.S. cheese that's now basically zero. Under USMCA, U.S. cheese gets expanded duty-free access within quotas, but Canada still applies steep over-quota tariffs of about 245% on cheese. The protection was not reduced from 60% to zero.
That had a universal tariff on us?
I think there are several countries that
Name
did.
one.
I think there are several countries
Name
that
one.
did. Honestly, I'm not sure, but I think there are several countries that did.
Okay, so why are we placing universal?
Man, Dave really came here not prepared. I don't know anything about tariffs, or I'm sure there is one statistically. Don't do fact checks here. I'm sorry.
So that zeroed out the tariffs. So then I think Argentina did, if I'm not mistaken. I think Israel did. I think a few other countries did.
Why don't we put a proportional tariff on them, the same that they put on us, so that we can negotiate that down? It doesn't seem like Trump's looking for that.
What do you mean? That's exactly what Trump did.
Let me just clarify. The tariffs are being paid by our consumers. So Trump, while trying to get his deals, is making inflation go up and making it worse off for you at the grocery store, worse off for you at the gas pump, worse off for you when you're trying to buy a house. So can you, again, like you could mention before, can you name one metric that Trump's made better off since he got in office?
I'm just not sure the premise of what you're saying, because do you think we should just have free trade with everybody without any penalization?
I thought you were like
either
libertarian.
way.
Don't you want free trade?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's so good. That's so fucking good. I'm telling you, Taffy, part of the problem is I can't just let it play, because if I let it play uninterrupted, it is going to get DMCA. And then the screen is going to go black for you guys, and you're not going to be able to see anything. So part of the reason I'm pausing to talk, it's not because I, nefariously want to interrupt them. It's because if I don't, everything gets put on hold for 2 or 3 minutes. I don't understand the premise. Indeed.
So I think you're agreeing with me. What Donald Trump is trying to do is...
He has an overall decreased tariffs.
He's trying...
The Supreme Court did more to decrease tariffs than he did.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
you can't expect him to wave a magic wand and fix everything, even though I have more or less said I that's exactly what he can do.
Negotiating these things.
Have we done anything in his office yet?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Scott Besson every day is negotiating with these other countries. You think...
I love, by the way, that folks like Dave Rubin will be like, well, Scott Besson has been negotiating 24/7 with these countries. What actually is the nature of the deals made by the United States as they currently stand? Right? What? Because any of the things that got negotiated prior to a judge knocking down Trump's tariff powers, Like, all of those negotiations also got knocked down. All of those agreements also got knocked down because they were predicated on Donald Trump being able to levy that tariff. So all of those deals that got made are functionally worthless.
I think the negotiations are worse off with the JCPOA. We have less political concessions right now than we had a decade ago under the JCPOA. So tell me, what political concessions have we got with the war with Iran since Trump started it?
Well, right now, Iran literally exports no oil. Every day they are losing.
That's not true at all. They have overlined pipes to Pakistan. They have the ability to let Chinese oil through the Strait of Hormuz, which they have, by the way, been doing. They've actually been exporting more oil since like their closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
$500 million. So what you can do over time is you have a military.
Oh, thank you. The fact check is actually here. Recent tanker tracking data cited by the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and others show Iran exporting roughly 1.5 to 2 million oil barrels a day and earning around $100 to $150 million in oil revenue per day. That's a lot of oil.
Adventure, which we had 40 days, which we took out their Air Force and their entire Navy and everything else. And now we completely...
You know, it's wild to me that like Republicans just keep mindlessly repeating this talking point. We took out their entire Navy, and yet like every week we get a report of the United States conducting bombing runs on Iranian mining ships. So it's kind of like, did you actually sink their Navy if they keep somehow pulling mine-laying vessels out of their ass?
Control their economy.
None of those were concerned. What's the political concession since the beginning of the war?
What's the political concession from Iran since the beginning of the war?
Yes, name one.
Well, we're having negotiations with them right now.
And we haven't gotten anything?
We're having negotiations with them right now.
So nothing?
Well, we're in a negotiation process.
Well, we're in a negotiation process. And we've actually, the longer this conflict has gone on, the more weak our position has become. But, you know, we're in a negotiation process.
For 2.5 months now, we got no...
Their entire...
Oh, it skipped.
Entire Navy and everything else. What's the political concessions with them right now?
And we haven't gotten anything? Now we got no political concessions.
A war for 2.5%
that was going to be in place until 2030. It would still be in place to this day.
We started.
The JCPOA.
We started with this. They admitted they were enriching past that point.
After the JCPOA.
Steve Witkoff.
They admitted this after Donald Trump ripped up the only agreement that prohibited them from enriching. Once the JCPOA was gone, nothing was legally binding for them to not enrich uranium. Nothing stopped them from doing that.
Said 2 or 3 days before the war started that they admitted they were enriching more.
Also, you pulled out of the agreement, and then the original strike that we made a year ago.
You also have to.
They haven't been building up.
You also have to go on the assumption.
To the DNI,
why is it that you believe? Why would you believe the Iranian theocratic regime? Why would you believe that they are doing right?
Why would you believe them that they're doing the right thing? Well, under the JCPOA, we didn't need to believe them because there were international inspectors who came in to make sure that they were following those regulations. We didn't need to trust them because there was accountability built into the mechanism of the JCPOA itself, right? Like, why would you believe them when they say these things now? Because it's in, like, they have no reason to lie about it anymore. Like, they're already being bombed. They're already, like, they're already in a terrible position. But what they have been able to do is make the Strait of Hormuz effectively their economic nuke deterrent. And it's really the only card they had to play, and they've played it very well.
That's the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, appointed by Donald Trump.
Yeah, also the Tulsi Gabbard shooting this defense in the dick is very funny to me.
Trump. So explain to me why you don't believe her.
Listen, Marco Rubio.
Why don't you believe her?
Marco, hold on.
Why don't you believe the entire U.S. intelligence community? Why do you think they're all lying?
So are you saying that Donald Trump just ignored the entire U.S. intelligence community?
Yes,
no,
literally that's what he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes.
That's it. That's okay. So that's.
Are you saying Donald Trump ignored people? You think Donald Trump could, I don't know, ignore good advice? The man who bankrupted a casino, he could ignore good advice? I don't believe it. Like, of course Donald Trump could ignore good advice. He got no red flags this entire time and multiple applauses. He's doing so good. But, like, also, Dave just sits there, is just like, well, I don't believe Tulsi Gabbard and the entire intelligence community, but then tries to flip it and is like, you do not believe, do you think that Donald Trump wouldn't listen to his intelligence community? And he's just like, yeah, obviously. When has Donald Trump ever listened to the intelligence community? Ever.
It's an interesting disconnect that we have. I mean, Marco
Why
Rubio,
do they contradict each other?
Marco Rubio very clearly laid out what was going on here. And by the way, Donald Trump and Donald Trump and every president for the last 40 years has said that Iran will not get a nuclear bomb, right? Every president has said that. Joe Biden said no. Remember, Kamala Harris said no or
the JCPOA
don't,
limited
right?
it to a greater extent. Okay. Why didn't you address that point?
Again, you are going...
That acronym is too long for Dave Rubin, okay? It's too long for Dave, and he will not abide it. Okay? You can't expect him to know what the JCPOA is. That would require him to prep, to read, to have an argument. That's too much to expect from poor Dave Rubin. He's a birthday boy. A precious, precious birthday boy.
On the assumption that you can trust these random inspectors that are going into these places.
IAEA?
Literally, yeah.
Random inspectors?
You can't. What, now you're gonna tell me you can trust experts to know things? Next, you're gonna be telling me that there are people out there who study the weather. Like, they could tell when a hurricane is coming to Florida.
The IAEA is the International Atomic Energy.
With all due respect, I think that trusting some of these international things that they somehow have America's interests or the West's interests in mind, I think is a kind of faulty. It's just a faulty premise, I would say.
So the international actors that are lying, they don't actually have legitimate surveillance.
Well, I do like here though that Dave has effectively said, you can't trust America's intelligence network. You can't trust international watchdog groups. You can't trust experts, but you can trust Donald Trump. You can't trust anybody who knows anything about anything, but you can trust a senile, dementia-addled old fool who's like AI psychosis posting on Truth Social at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can trust him. He knows what's up.
Over their nuclear enrichment facilities?
No, they don't.
Okay,
so
they don't.
You think they have. What do you mean? They were buried under mountains. They were buried underground.
God, that was genuinely very funny. Holy shit, we did it, folks. We made it through part 2 of Dave Rubin's biggest mistake. My God. Yeah, the guy who made a fake university would never lie, right? Right, guys? Oh, God. Everything is stupid. But you know what's not stupid? Hitting the like button on this video, leaving a comment about what you think about Dave Rubin's performance, and also hitting the subscribe button. None of those things are stupid, and actually they make you cool. And I will also say, get involved with your local Dems, get involved with your local DSA, get involved with Progressive Victory. You can make more friends. You can flex on how cool you are about liking the video, leaving comments, and subscribing. And you can make your local politics better. Join your local Dems, make them more progressive, make them more pro-working class. Get those corporate Dems out of power. Join your local DSA, make it more effective. Recreate the success of New York City DSA with Zoran Mamdani right where you live. Progressive Victory can tie you directly into campaigns across the country for leftist candidates who need your help knocking doors, phone banking, and text banking. All right, we got a link to them down below, but if you want to get involved with your local Dems and your local DSA, join our Discord, reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems, reach out to Gamergy, rather, for help with joining your local DSA. And folks, also, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie that's non-tuck. Go check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com. Link down in the doobly-doo. Let's keep on going. And God save us from ever falling into an intellectual pit like Dave Rubin has.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's